Sarajevo, an ancient symbol of European coexistence, lost in 1992. For months on end, this proved to be its destiny. Shells and missiles, coming in ones, in twos, in threes, random and indiscriminate, leaving behind an eerie sound as if the city's crying, and setting it spectacularly ablaze.
Okay, so I've arrived in Sarajevo. There's no Wi-Fi anywhere. So the problem with this is I can't actually find where I'm supposed to be trying to stay. Google Maps doesn't work without Wi-Fi. Nothing works without Wi-Fi. I've just been walking around just now in this random, I don't know if it's a bus station or I don't know what this place is. It's like some sort of, it feels like a zombie apocalypse has happened here. Anyway, I keep searching, but it's pretty sparse around here, it has to be said. Yeah, so the problem is I don't actually have any network. So I have no network and I have no access to Wi-Fi. And I'm now in this random place. So I'm walking beside this wall at the moment. I see a flag in the distance. It'd be useful if I was from there. It's an American flag. This must be an American embassy. Basically says no cameras, no photography, and they're filming me. Okay, so I'm all checked into my hostel. I'm staying in a hostel this time. A lot of the time when I'm traveling, I've been staying in Airbnbs, hotels sometimes. But the reality is, in Sarajevo, the hostels seem pretty cool. So that's where I'm staying. I had a problem with the taxi drivers. Basically, they operate like a cartel. They basically, if I don't speak Bosnian, they wanted to rip me off. One person gave me a price, I refused, then they all basically kept with that price, which was clever of them. But then what I didn't like was when I went to ask a police officer who was just standing around the corner from these guys, I said, look, there's a sign that says meters, are you not going to enforce these meters on the taxi drivers? And he's like, no, I don't do that. So basically the police were working with the taxi drivers. I knew it was overpriced, so I paid 15 marks for a journey that really should have cost 5 marks. I wanted to get out of there, to be honest, because some of the taxi drivers effectively looked like bin Laden, and they were acting as aggressively as him. So, you know, this is just unfortunately how it goes, and sometimes you just have to bite your lip and just go with it. So onwards, I'm in a nice place. I mean, the sun is shining. The hostel's really nice. It's modern. It's only about 2 weeks old, so everything's brand new. And now I'm just walking down the hill just to go and see Sarajevo. Yo, so Sarajevo, as you may have remember from the early 90s, mid-90s, when all the news reports were blasting our screens with gunshots from the hills above, I would have told you that Sarajevo is effectively in a valley surrounded by lots and lots of hills. This is a really hilly town. I mean, see all these hills that I keep having to climb. Good exercise though. I think I'm in the embassy quarter, just been past the French embassy. The Canadian embassy is... Actually, it's not the Canadian embassy. Yeah. Tell me what flag that is. For a slight moment it looked like Canadian flag, but it's not the Canadian flag. Tell me in the comments below, what is that flag? I always feel like I'm at home when I go down shady alleys. Look. Yo, so I've arrived during the film festival of Sarajevo. As you can see behind me, look at these mountains. It's just pissed down with rain. I'm not really dressed appropriately right now, has to be said. I'm wearing Tom's shoes that are getting incredibly wet. Look at that, very wet. Not good for the weather here. Problem is, I'm about a mile from my place, so I think I need to get back, change, because I'm definitely dressed inappropriately, and then head on to into the festival.
Bosnia and its capital Sarajevo in particular had symbolized the spirit of Yugoslavia, a place where Muslim, Serb and Croat lived side by side, none ruled alone. But with the old Yugoslav Federation disintegrating around it, the Bosnian government at the end of February held a referendum on independence. The Muslim and Croat communities voted in favour, but most of the Serbs boycotted the ballot. It was a recipe for disaster. Within hours of the massive approval of the referendum being announced, barricades had sprung up in the predominantly Serb districts of Sarajevo. The gunmen hid their faces, not their intentions. Radicalised by the revolt of their fellow Serbs in Croatia the previous year, and by the almost pathological nationalism of their leaders, they took up the call for partition through arms, and with it a medieval ideology of ethnic purity. In massive rallies for peace, Sarajevo's spirit of coexistence for a time held the gunmen at bay. It even triumphed when the gunmen opened fire on the demonstrators in Marinvor Square. But the triumph proved a short-lived illusion. By April, Sarajevo and the rest of Bosnia was at war. With snipers vying for control of districts where just 8 short years before, the athletes of the Winter Olympics strolled. Through their control of the old Yugoslav army, the Serbs enjoyed an enormous overweight in weaponry. Yet, curiously, in Sarajevo that has proved insufficient. After weeks of embittered, often bloody negotiation, they were forced to withdraw from all of the city's barracks, leaving most of Sarajevo in the hands of an unlikely alliance of the professional, the amateur and the criminal. Men with different motives, yet the same goal of halting total Serb domination. But while the Serbs control just a small part of this elongated city, stretched along the valley floor beside the river Miljacka, they do hold all the high ground. From their bunkers in the hills, the Serb gunners have every street in their sights. And in Sarajevo, they don't just snipe with rifles. In May, an incident that shocked the world out of its insensitivity, and a simple shopping trip for bread ended in atrocity. Mortar bombs landing amongst the civilians. The responsibility for this and other acts of carnage never fully proven. Many blamed the Serbs, but they in turn accused the Muslims of firing on their own people. Whoever fired the rounds, Sarajevo had become the most dangerous place on earth. A place where young evacuees were strapped into their bus seats, yet still shot at and hit. Where not even the funeral services were sacred. A place quite simply where any venture outdoors could end in death. And never more so than on the narrow track linking the city proper to its western suburb of Dobrinja. For months, Dobrinja's 40,000 inhabitants were totally cut off, suffering a siege within a siege, with hardly any water, hugely insufficient stocks of food, an improvised makeshift hospital. This in an area so bereft of cover that the dead could only be buried at night by the roadside. Innocent victims, none more so than Sarajevo's children, including the most tiny. One of the first buildings hit was the maternity hospital, which found itself in the wrong place at the wrong time, on the front line. Battered by Serb shelling, it was finally evacuated before the wards with empty roads. Barrages of cannon and rocket, which slammed into Sarajevo's symbols of government or of its modern prosperity, shrouding them in flames.
Arkadaşlar sizi bekliyorum. Basmayalım arkadaşlar lütfen.
Yo, so I just come into this restaurant called Zelio. It's highly rated number 10 restaurant out of all the restaurants of TripAdvisor. I have no idea what I've just ordered, but it's called a Savapi. According to TripAdvisor, it's supposed to be very good. So let's try it. So I'm currently in the center of Sarajevo. There's a lot of Islamic restaurants, shops, mosques. A lot of people that aren't from here wearing full face coverings. Lots of hijabs. You can see in the burqa. When the call to prayer starts, it gets quite noisy. Still haven't gone back yet because it has stopped raining. We'll keep walking around, just sort of sampling the local delicacies, the food, and just see what I stumble across. Yo, so second day in Sarajevo. I'm walking the back streets. Back streets are less glamorous than the sort of well manicured sort of old town parts where the tourists go. Back streets effectively still look like a war zone, to be honest. Granted, this could just be them digging up the road, but it looks like it's been like this for a long time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this happened only a few weeks ago, but if I was to guess, this has been like this a long time. You walk past the buildings, still bullet hole. Every time you walk past buildings, you can still see bullet holes in one of the buildings. So it hasn't had the economic recovery that, you know, some places have had. Just sort of memories of what happened here just over 20 years ago. Anyway, the tour continues. I'm standing here in the ruins of what effectively used to be an old inn, which is connected to this shopping centre that you see here. During the construction of Hotel Europe, this very modern hotel over here, they basically discovered this old inn that was made entirely of stone. It housed up to 90 people in 90 different rooms. Each room was had central heating. It was built by some people from Dubrovnik, and well, apparently it's worth preserving. It looks nice, but it's not. This is the biggest mosque in Sarajevo. It is also the center of Islam in Bosnia. This is effectively what the heart of Islam in Bosnia country. This is their main mosque. Unfortunately, it's closed, so no praying for me today. So I've just been in the Gazi Huzreg Beg museum. This is the museum I'm standing in. Basically details how the mosque was built, how it came about, and basically illustrates how Bazi himself was a very privileged man. He was the son of incredibly rich people. He was a prince, and when he came of age, he took it upon himself to become a warlord. In becoming a warlord, he ransacked Belgrade, he charged all the way through the Balkans, and he basically settled in what is known as Sarajevo in the early 16th century. Islam means submission. Islam, if you do not submit, they will either tax you until you have no money left, or they will kill you. That was how the Ottoman Empire became as powerful as it did. The museum talks about the gloriness of the founder of the mosque, the prince, the mighty prince who is the warlord who basically pillaged his way across Eastern Europe and into the Balkans. This this mosque, though beautiful, you've got to remember that it's built on death and destruction, and it's been kept here for 500 years due to people submitting. Yeah, it's a beautiful place, but how was it built? How did it come about? I think those questions and memories can't be glossed over. It came about through conquering, destruction, and wars. So at the moment behind me there's some people praying into the main mosque. What you notice over here, just men. Over here, there's a few women. This is the female section. Obviously separated. If the mosque was open, the men would be at the front and the women would be at the back. And the women would be forced to go through separate entrances because obviously women are deemed less equal to men under Islam. This is the Basra that surrounds the mosque. Basically, when the mosque was built, they had to also develop commerce, basically improve on what was effectively the capital of the Eastern Europe. The biggest city in the Ottoman Empire in Eastern Europe. It linked east with west. You've got to realise that people had just been ransacked. The city had been turned over by the Ottoman Empire, so they had to rebuild it. And in rebuilding it, they put the mosque as a centerpiece, and then they put the shops around the mosque. And that is why there was a place where travellers could see where I was earlier. They could stay there for 3 days free of charge. There was 90 rooms, basically to attract commerce into the area, because why would you go to an area that's just been ransacked? Well, because they're going to invite you there and you can stay for free. That's the reason. So as you can see, I'm inside Sarajevo City Hall. It's obviously very Ottoman Empire, Islamic architecture. Very striking, very peaceful actually. I think there's only about 4 other people in the building. That could be a reason. I guess if there were lots of kids running around, it would be less peaceful. But it's quite impressive, yeah? It feels almost like the entrance to a Turkish bath. You just feel like the next corner some guy in a robe's gonna walk around the corner and in a town or something. But this is the city hall. So this is I guess this is where the mayor of Sarajevo does his thing. You can probably imagine he will sit here. And the councillors or the politicians, I imagine councillors, sit here. Wow. Alright, there's a bridge right behind me. Can you guess what that bridge represents? Can you guess why that bridge is famous? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. This is Sarajevo. Think about it. Okay, so this bridge, it might not look like much, but this bridge changed history in 1914. How did it change history? Well, the Austrian-Hungarian Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophia was actually shot on this bridge. Somewhere on this bridge, they were shot, basically kick-starting World War I. Although they were looking for an excuse anyway, but this was the catalyst to start World War I. And because of who died on this bridge, millions died. I'm not sure I would put my padlock on this bridge, given that what it represents, but it's cute that the bridge is basically covered in padlocks. Limited space to put them on, but this is where they are. Yo, so I've come to the end of my trip in Sarajevo. I'm back at this incredibly, well, not so pretty bus station. Noisy as always. And my next part of the journey, I'm heading to Bezirjina. I think that's how you say it. If I can't get there, I'm going to end up in Tuzla. So I'm trying to get to Tuzla, see what that's like. Hopefully I can change on the bus and head straight there, but let's see what happens. I just know Bosnia's not like Japan. Bus should have left 30 minutes ago. There is no bus yet. That's not my bus, by the way.